Hi everybody, this is Anthony Fritchley, known as Anthony Fritchley 2003 on my YouTube channel here. And I just really found out that I just saw that Dan Sobel just came back to YouTube, and well, when I saw his very first video on his channel about he's no longer doing some bad things, like he's proving his behavior, but there's something I gotta tell you about Dan Sobel. There's something I gotta tell you about Dan Sobel, and I just don't know if I'm gonna like him again. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna like him yet until. But I don't know if I'm gonna like Dan Sobel. But I don't know if as of right now, I'm no longer just hating Dan Sobel. I still have no opinion on him now. Still, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like him just yet until some other YouTubers were liking Dan again. Because I just found out that Dan Sobel, very first video, well, he just told everyone that he's no longer doing some terrible stuff. He's no longer making message videos. He's no longer making bad videos out of people or anything like that. Like just want to there's something I gotta tell you about Dan Sobel recently. If you want to see that Dan Sobel's video, the link will be in the description if you want to see that video, for example. Because I remember Dan Sobel did some terrible stuff back in the past. Like he just said the N-word back in 2021. And he did scream at Devin Osborne, Vinny the social media guy, back in 2022. And he was changing his pajamas on TikTok. Well, I just don't know if I'm no longer just hating Dan, but I just still have no opinion on him. I just don't hate or like Dan Sobel. It's just I have no opinion on him still. The only thing I hate about Dan nowadays is just he did some bad stuff. Only nowadays. As of right now, the only thing I hate about Dan Sobel is he does some bad stuff now. He did some terrible things in the past. I just hate when Dan Sobel screamed or said the N-word or gave middle finger out with private parts and grounding threats as well. So yeah, when I saw Dan Sobel's first video on his YouTube channel, when he came back to videos on his channel, well, I just found out that Dan Sobel just decided not to make any commentary videos and no longer doing some message videos. He's no longer making. I don't think he's no longer doing grounding threats or any bad things. He's no longer gonna do some bad stuff anymore. And I hope he's not doing anything bad anymore, because like he should have been done a long time ago. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like him again, but as of right now, I'm no longer just hating Dan Sobel. The only thing I hate about him is just he does some terrible stuff. That's it. Nowadays, actually, there's some I kind of do have like it. The only thing I only prefer to Dan Sobel nowadays is he does some good stuff. I do like when Dan Sobel does his taste test videos, making nursery rhyme videos or his Blue's Clues layer segments. Well, he did have to start over his Blue's Clues layer segments, so yeah. But I did know that he does his movie reviews, TV show reviews, and all kinds of good stuff. And I only prefer the good stuff better than his terrible videos. But I don't know, but I still have no opinion on him still. I can still watch his Dan Sobel stuff. I kind of do like when he does good stuff. Just not the bad things he did. I just don't know if I'm going to like him still. I don't know if I'm gonna like him or I don't know, you guys. Should I just like him or should I just still hate him? I don't know if I'm gonna like him because I just realized that Dan Sobel was learned his lesson, and improve his behavior. And I hope he's not doing anything such drama again. He's no longer doing some bad things and some bad stuff, doing some terrible stuff again. So yeah. And besides, he was not always a bad YouTuber. He's not always a bad person. He can be good as well. It's more like both. I'll say he's more like a both. He's kind of did some terrible things. He's not always... Yeah, he doesn't always do some bad stuff. The only thing I prefer Dan Sobel I like is he does some good stuff. Yeah, but if I did like Dan Sobel, I only prefer he does something better. Just don't like when he does something wrong. But I don't know about his good stuff. But I don't like the bad stuff though. The only thing I don't like Dan Sobel nowadays is his terrible videos. Like he was screaming at Devin Osborne back in 2022 and some other stuff, whatever that is. So yeah. So I don't know if I'm gonna like Dan Sobel. I'm not sure if I'm gonna trust him right now. Because I just found out that Dan Sobel was improving his behavior. Good thing I'm glad I still have my letters of Dan Sobel on my channel. Well, he did have to start over on his YouTube channel. So yeah. So I don't know if I'm gonna like him, but I might still not gonna trust him for right now until some other YouTubers were neutral to Dan Sobel again. I'm not sure if I'll give Dan another chance. I don't know if I'll give him another chance. I know there's a lot of YouTubers who still hate Dan Sobel, such as Jordan's Media Corps 2000, Nate the Game Media 2006, and a lot of YouTubers who still hate Dan Sobel because he did some terrible stuff, and they called Dan a pedophile, or me hating him as well, including me sometimes. And if I did used to like Dan Sobel a long time ago because he does some good stuff. Because I really like him. I just only liked him just because he does his Blue's Clues letter segments and some kids stuff and TV show reviews and movie reviews. I think what he usually likes to do on his channel, besides what he did wrong, is the only thing he did the right stuff. I'm fine if he has a right to do kids shows. I don't mind. I don't know if I care. I don't think I care if he comes back to YouTube. Only if I don't care about Dan. That is the only thing I only care about him is he does his letter segments for me back in the past. Back in 2021 to 2022. So yeah. So I don't know if I'm gonna like him again. I don't know if I'm gonna hate. If I did like Dan Sobel, I'm afraid there are some other YouTubers who's gonna hate me, like Ryan Sylvia and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm gonna like or trusting him just yet I'm just not gonna like him just for right now because I don't think Dan Sobel is no longer doing some bad stuff. I just found out since today on Monday. I just saw that Dan Sobel just came back. His videos were coming back to YouTube. Yep. He came back to YouTube nowadays. But I don't know what my reaction will be about. I kind of don't mind. I really don't know if I don't mind or don't care if he comes back, but I don't know what my reaction will be. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm fine if he comes back to YouTube, as long if he does some good stuff. Even better. The only thing I prefer to Dan Sobel is he does some better stuff than terrible stuff, but I still have no opinion on him. I don't know if I'm gonna like Dan Sobel, but mostly if I had a right to do it, I should hate him. But as of right now, I don't know if I'm gonna hate him nowadays. But I don't know if I'm gonna like him again. But I'm not sure. But I would love to like him again, though. I would love to like Dan Sobel. I wish I could be friends with him. Because if I were friends to Dan Sobel, there are some YouTubers who will never respect my pay, who lost my respect on Dan Sobel, like Ryan Sylvia, and some other YouTubers had no respect my opinion on Dan Sobel. And there's some YouTubers like Ryan Silva had never respect my opinion on Dan Sobel. So I don't know if I'm gonna like him or should I just keep hating Dan. I don't know if I'll keep hating Dan because I just found out that Dan Sobel is learning his lesson and he's no longer doing some terrible stuff anymore. So yeah, when I just found out that Dan Sobel came back to YouTube, he said that he just learned his lesson, which I really do appreciate that, but I don't know if I'm gonna like him again. I'm not sure because which I did make a rant on Dan Sobel and message video out of Dan Sobel and I did make a statement on Dan Sobel already, but I don't know if actually I kind of don't. I don't know if I hate Dan Sobel, but mostly the only thing I don't like about Dan Sobel is he did some terrible stuff. He did some a lot of bad stuff on his in the past. Like he was screaming at Devin Osborne, various social media guys, and he did make people unhappy birthday. And he was changing his pajamas in front of the kids on TikTok, and he was naked on Google Meets and gave middle finger showing up the private parts, which that's pretty disgusting, kind of. Mostly for me, kind of, but mostly big time. But yeah, for me, it doesn't bother me if I see. I'd be surprised, but yeah, it didn't make me sick because it only make. Well, yeah, I just say people sick for real, but yeah. Like, and changing his pajamas in front of the kids on TikTok back in July of 2022. Not 2022, 2024. And that's why they decided to call Dan a pedophile. Which I don't know. Maybe someday I might no longer call him a man-child or a pedophile if I were neutral to Dan Sobel. So yeah. Because I just found out that Dan Sobel was improving his behavior, and I don't know if I'll trust him right now. So yeah, but this video is for everyone who are neutral or hates Dan Sobel. I don't know if I'm gonna like him again. But if I did like Dan Sobel, there are some YouTube users who will respect my opinion on Dan Sobel, which is Jordan's Media Core 2000, Mr. Evan, and Nate the Game Media 2006. They can still like me, just not Ryan Sylvia and some other YouTubers. So yeah. But I do know that Amanda Cartwright, Jennifer Manning, and Abby Hatcher was still neutral to Dan Sobel. But I can still handle their opinions on if they like Dan Sobel, but I don't know if I'm ready to like him. I'm just not ready to like him yet, but I don't know if I'm gonna be friends with him yet. I would love to be friends with Dan Sobel, but I would love to be friends with him, but even though he did improve his behavior, I don't still know if I'm gonna be ready to like him. Just due to some YouTubers who never respect my opinion on Dan Sobel, which is Ryan Sylvia, that is. So yeah. So they just blocked me and unsubscribed just because I hate him. But I don't know if I'll give Dan another chance. I'm not sure if I'll give him another chance. I would love to give him another chance. But I would love to be friends with Dan Sobel. But I just don't know if I'm ready to like him. Because I just like when Dan Sobel did some good stuff. Just not the bad things he did. I do like when Dan Sobel does his Blue's Clues Lair segments, taste test videos, and TV show reviews and movie reviews and anniversary videos and stuff like that. That's the only thing I prefer to Dan Sobel. So yeah, and I did like when Dan Sobel made a letter segment to me. I remember I did make Blue's Clues letter segments to Dan Sobel. The first time I made a letter for Dan Sobel back in 2021, it was me when I fixed him a hot dog. And the last letter segment I made to Dan Sobel is his Handy Dandy notebook. So yeah. But I don't know if I'm going to be ready to like him. And I think about making a letter for Dan Sobel. But I think, I don't know if I'm gonna, I don't think I'm ready to like him. Well, Dan Sobel's no longer doing an unhappy birthday. He's no longer doing some bad, terrible stuff, which that's good. Which that's a good thing for me. I would love when Dan Sobel did some better stuff better than he did something bad. But I don't know if, but I don't still have no friend, but I still have no opinion on him. I don't know if I like him. I don't know if I was gonna like him, if I'm gonna trust him. So yeah, because I just found out that Dan Sobel did came back to YouTube, but he did he just had to learn his, he just had he had to learn his lesson. Well, maybe he should have been done a long time ago. So yeah, he's no longer doing some bad things. So yeah. See, I would love to. I kind of do appreciate that when Dan Sobel did them, which I don't know if he has a. I think he did have a right, but I don't know about that. So yeah. I don't know if he has a right to come back to YouTube. There are a lot of YouTubers who hate Dan Sobel, say that they have no rights to Dan Sobel came back to YouTube. So yeah. And I don't no wonder why there's a lot of YouTubers hate Dan Sobel, because Dan Sobel was screaming at David Osborne back in 2022, and they didn't respect my opinion on Dan Sobel just because back in July of 2024 he was changing his pajamas in front of the kids on TikTok. I just don't like what Dan Sobel did some terrible things. I only prefer the good stuff. I don't know about the good stuff, but I don't like the bad things he did in the past. So yeah. So I don't know what else I gotta say for this video, so I'm gonna have to let it be. So yeah. I think that's all I gotta say for this video. I think I'm out of ideas. So yeah. That's all I gotta say. Subscribe to my channel, everybody. Drop a like on this video, and I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Bye bye.